Welcome to the Magicbook channel, and thank you for joining us for a video featuring our new original story. Ashley settled carefully into the back seat of the taxi, tucked a stray ash blonde strand of hair behind her shoulder, and gave the driver a curt nod to go. She was trying desperately to maintain an outward calm, and for the most part, she succeeded. At least, the reflection in the car's dark, rain-streaked window was still beautiful and expressed utter indifference to everything. Even the fact that she had to get into this plain, clearly not very clean car, with a child seat shoved to the side and an unshaven, rumpled-looking driver, she accepted with icy composure. After all, this battered foreign car with its cloyingly sweet air freshener and irritating rhythmic music was just a minor nuisance in her life, a temporary inconvenience. But no matter what, she would remember this, especially if she started feeling nauseous from this sickening synthetic smell, people mockingly called new car scent. How had it come to this? She didn't even have her own car to run errands and had to call a cab. And it was sheer luck one even showed up. There was a very real chance she'd have been left stranded and forced to take the bus, which would have been completely unacceptable. Disdainfully pushing aside the perpetually sliding child seat, Ashley stared out the rain-fogged window. The rivulets running down the glass steered her thoughts in another direction, and there was nothing joyful or hopeful there either. The month had ended, and the endless autumn rains had begun. And now she was forced to get wet and shiver under the icy droplets. Sneaking under the collar of her trench coat, she never wore the hood on principle, as if she would pull one of those ridiculous sacks over her head like everyone else. Not with her luxurious hair and styling. She was cold and damp, even though by now she should have been basking on a sunny coast, where the sun was perfect for her skin, strong but not burning. Where else should you endure a nasty late autumn but in a place with white sand, blue sky, and water in every shade of blue? Something strange was going on, and no matter how much she pretended, it wasn't worth her nerves. It was time to finally figure things out. Max's behavior had been odd, to say the least. He'd started constantly working late at the office. At least, that's what he said. And so often that she'd begun suspecting an affair. But no, that definitely wasn't it. Ashley had an infallible sense for such things. It was more likely just some unhealthy work obsession. Then he suddenly postponed their long-planned island trip indefinitely, and still hadn't paid for the new car she'd already picked out at the dealership. But the most important thing, he'd almost stopped coming to their apartment. Well, the apartment he rented for her. But that was irrelevant. What mattered was that yesterday she'd spent almost her last money on a wonderful dinner delivery, and he never showed up or even bothered to warn her. And today, she heard over the phone, "You know, Ash, don't wait for me. I won't make it tonight, and tomorrow's not looking good either. I have to leave on urgent business for about 5 days, maybe longer. Don't worry about the apartment. The rent is paid through the end of the year, so stay as long as you need." Wait, what do you mean, as long as you need? What's going on, Max? When will you be back? Ashley demanded, shouting into the phone. And anyway, I need a car, you hear me? I can't talk anymore, I'm sorry. I have to board. We'll discuss and sort everything out when I'm back, I promise. And he hung up, leaving her in a thick fog of uncertainty and confusion. No, this was outrageous. Why had he refused to send a car for her? She returned to her original source of irritation as the taxi braked sharply, and Ashley, sliding off the seat, painfully banged her knees against the back of the front seat. Could her worst fears be true? Had that woman, his ex, finally turned his head? Unbelievable. Ashley had given this man a whole year of her life. She'd given up. Well, never mind who or what for. The point was, she had bet everything on this relationship, and everything had been perfect. Max was ready for anything. And, most importantly, He was almost ready to finally free himself from that mistake, his long-since ex-wife, and propose to her, Ashley. She was absolutely sure of it. Just the information that Max had bought a stunning ring from a jewelry store a month ago was proof. She'd been confidentially informed by a very reliable source. The saleswoman from that very boutique, whom Ashley knew, had even shown her a picture. Of course, she would have chosen a different one, but you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, especially considering its price tag. So, everything was ready. Most likely, he was just waiting for the right moment or mustering the courage men often get timid in such situations. And suddenly, everything was falling apart. No, she wouldn't allow it. She was on her way to see ***, that pale mouse, his ex. Okay, fine, legally she was still his wife. But it was a mere formality. She would set the record straight and solve this problem once and for all. She'd been through too much and sacrificed too much to lose everything now, when she was just one step away from total victory. Ashley Clark was born into an officer's family, stationed at a large military base in the Far East. She spent most of her childhood there. The military town, where the girl lived with her parents, consisted of countless barracks and a few apartment buildings considered almost luxurious, because they had hot water 3 or 4 days a week. Besides housing, the town had a medical station and 2 tiny stores with an endless supply of canned goods and hardtack. For entertainment, there was a club that showed movies once a week and a library, which everyone considered useless and which remained locked most of the time. While Ashley was little, the dreariness of her hometown didn't bother her. Kids can make do anywhere, especially if they have company and a creaky swing set in the yard. Ashley's situation was special. She was practically the only girl among the officer's children, and a pretty one at that, with chubby cheeks, flaxen curls, and large grey-blue eyes that melted hearts wherever she appeared. The men, the soldiers, were grateful to their wives and treated the children well. From an early age, Ashley was surrounded by clumsy, boyish protection, akin to older brothers looking after a little sister. Our Ashley is just a little princess, her mother Irene would smile, watching as one of the neighbor boys held a bicycle steady while another helped the girl climb onto a frame to high for her. So, while she was little, everything was fine. She had enough love from her mother, who worked as a medic at the station, reserved affection from her father, who came home after dark, and even toys generously given up by her young knights. Kostya, Ashley starts school next year. Irene had gathered her courage to talk to her husband. So, her husband shrugged. She'll go like everyone else, to the district center. The school bus goes there every day. But Kostya, it's so far. Back and forth every day. Irene, he interrupted her softly but firmly. I'm a military man. You always knew about the challenges of our life. We live like everyone else, and Ashley will study like everyone else. My family must be with me, otherwise it's not a family. Irene looked at her husband and smiled with relief. It was good he had resolved the matter so simply. He was right. They would live like everyone else, and nothing would happen to Ashley. Ashley enthusiastically embraced the news that the world wasn't limited to the walls of their houses and the high grey fence. The small town where an old bus took the children from the military base every day seemed huge, bright, noisy, and incredibly interesting to her. It also turned out that a distant relative of her father's lived there, and Irene, as if coming to her senses, began regularly visiting the city with her daughter on weekends. The impressions from the small park with a couple of carousels and the petting zoo in the shopping mall lasted Ashley for months. For several years, she was a perfectly ordinary child, just noticeably prettier than the rest. And she was fine with everything for a while, until about the age of 14. Then she started asking questions and answering them herself. because she couldn't get clear answers from her mother. "Mom, why are we stuck in this pathetic little town? It's not even a proper town, just a bunch of barracks where people are sick of each other." "Ashley, what are you saying?" Irene was horrified, glad her husband couldn't hear. "What's so wrong with what I'm saying? You know I'm right. Yesterday, I was at a classmate's house. Guess what? They have hot water on Sundays too. Amazing, right?" Ashley said with irony. "It's disgusting coming back to our slums after their apartment. I want to wash my hair when I need to, not when circumstances allow." Irene closed her eyes wearily. Washing her hair had become an obsession for Ashley. Her thick hair of a rare ash blonde shade was truly beautiful, and the older she got, the more attention she paid to her assets. Her hair had to be perfectly clean, and the conditions the officers' families lived in were far from comfortable. The houses were old, the systems worn out, and the town was supplied on a leftover basis. Apparently, the utility workers thought hardened military folk could do without daily showers. So, water didn't run every day, and when it did, it was a weak trickle you couldn't even rinse a handkerchief with, let alone hair. "I'm sick of these basins and ladles. We live like in the Stone Age." "Ashley, stop it." Irene couldn't take it anymore. "Aren't you ashamed? Your father has served his whole life." Yeah, I know. Serves the motherland," Ashley smirked. "Then why can't the motherland provide him with a normal, non-leaking bathroom?" "You know, Mom, I don't want to live like this. I want to live normally." "What do you mean, normally?" Irene asked cautiously. "Well, for example, doing homework when it's convenient. Not watching the clock knowing the lights will be cut off at 10. Ashley blurted out. "Anyway, I've decided. I'll go live with Aunt Sveta. At least I'll find out what human conditions are like." Irene, let her stay. Svetlana, Konstantin's relative, agreed. "I have plenty of space. Since my son's moved out, I'm alone in a 3-room apartment." "Let her stay. She can wash up to her heart's content," she joked, knowing about her niece's constant complaints. For a while, Ashley was quite content, feeling like a city girl. Then she went to a truly big city and returned quiet and thoughtful. But, as Irene suspected, it was the calm before the storm. "That's it. I'll finish school, become an adult, and leave. I won't stay here a day longer," she announced to her parents, pretending not to notice her father's grim look. "I'll walk if I have to." Her father was silent for a long time, flipping through the pages of a book. "We've lost Ashley," Konstantin suddenly said. "We missed something, failed to get through to her." For the first time, Irene saw confusion on the face of her always confident and decisive husband. "Listen, Irene, we need to do something," he hugged his wife. "We need to get Ashley out of here. And it's better if she's with us, not alone. I'm afraid with her personality and looks, she could make a mess of things." "Why not? Nothing is impossible for a Russian officer." He tried to smile. "I have 20 years of service and a higher education. I've been offered a job at a military academy in the central region." "Where?" Irene exclaimed joyfully. "But that's wonderful. Finally, we'll live with proper amenities, go to the theater, and there's a great university there. Ashley can study. Kostya." She laughed but caught herself. "Wait, that's great for Ashley, of course, but are you sure? This is your unit, your friends. You helped build this post with your own hands. How can you leave?" "Come on, Irene. I'll manage. The important thing is we'll be together and can keep an eye on Ashley for a while longer. And it's time. Enough suffering for you here. After all, our daughter can't even wash her hair properly," he grunted, remembering the frequent cause of domestic arguments. "I do love you. I should do at least something for you. And that's exactly why I wanted to hear you say all that, my tough soldier." Irene laughed happily. A year later, the Clarks moved to an old Russian city where Konstantin and Irene got housing that seemed like a Palace compared to their Far Eastern apartment. You just haven't seen real apartments, Ashley muttered. But for appearance's sake, she feigned joy on a face that by 17 had become truly remarkable, one that made people turn their heads. By 17, Ashley had bloomed. Perfect matte skin with a light blush, a delicate nose, clearly defined lips, a neat chin, and huge blue eyes with a cool steely tint that robbed her gaze of naivety. And the main treasure, thick, lush ash blonde hair with a platinum sheen. From about 15, Ashley realized beauty alone wasn't enough. She wasn't an athlete, didn't go to clubs except for a modeling school, which her father ironically called something like my parade ground, but for girls. You march too. Keep your back straight. Only for us it's a parade. For you it's a catwalk. Ignoring the jokes, Ashley learned to walk and watched her figure fiercely doing squats and push-ups in her room. The result was a slender figure with straight legs and a narrow waist. Total knockout was the laconic assessment from her loyal admirer and classmate Danny, who publicly declared he was giving his heart to Ashley Clark forever, and would be her eternal knight. Ashley became not just beautiful, but very noticeable thanks to her confident, slightly bold way of presenting herself. Where did she get that from? The daughter of two modest, reserved people. Who knows? Constantine, raised in a military family, couldn't imagine another life for himself. Then there was the academy, meeting Irene, who, to his amazement, agreed to marry him despite all the warnings about the hardships. They moved around the country for several years, then settled in the Far East, had a daughter, and were happy, not because they lived in luxury, but because they were together. Reserved by nature, he never openly showed his feelings, but she didn't need him to. She already knew. Constantine was a tall, sturdy man with regular features and an intent gaze that warmed only at the sight of his wife or daughter. Irene was a charming woman with a soft, quiet beauty that was easy to forget. Ashley was different, vibrant, sharp, as if all her parents' features had intensified in her, becoming sharper and more expressive. And all these assets, in their owner's opinion, had no place in this patriarchal city. What did she care about ancient walls and birch trees when she was drawn to skyscrapers, wide avenues, low fast cars, and a different rhythm of life? She dreamed of a world where people ate small portions, wore dark glasses, and men wore watches worth a whole apartment. And the women, when Ashley imagined herself among them, it took her breath away. High heels, elegant manicures, narrow skirts, and faces full of cold composure. There was no room for sentimentality, talks about family values, or heavy homemade lunches. Of course, she didn't tell her mother everything she was thinking, but even the share of candor that escaped was shocking. Sweetheart, but to live in the capital the way you want, you need money or an education, or at least one of the two, Irene cautiously remarked. Don't you think you should get a profession first? Figure out your future. Where you live isn't the most important thing in life. Oh, Mom, next you'll say it's not the place that makes the person, but the person the place, Ashley retorted. Well, then, beautify this place with your presence, Irene suggested ironically. Yeah, why not? Speaking of beauty, Ashley gathered her courage. I want to enter a beauty pageant. I've already signed up and sent photos. And you can't stop me. Come on, Irene. Don't panic. Her friend waved a hand. I know that pageant. It's a teen thing, just for show. The girls strut around, that's it. They don't even have swimsuits. And what will you achieve by forbidding it? You'll just fight. A few months after her first public appearance and a few days after getting her diploma, Ashley, desperately trembling inside, announced, Mom, Dad, I'm moving to New York. There's nothing for me here. I want to go to a modeling agency casting call. A what? Irene asked cautiously. A casting call. Mom. It's an audition. Understand? Her mother only gasped in fright. Her father was less accommodating. So, you're planning to go to this casting instead of college? Do I understand correctly? Correct, his daughter answered firmly. She'd inherited her father's stubbornness and wasn't about to yield. Sweetheart, maybe we should think about this, Irene timidly interjected. I've heard a lot of bad things about those agencies. They treat girls poorly. Treat them poorly? Ashley asked with a smile. You mean they might be pressured into something? Oh, Mom, please, stop. Where did you pick up such nonsense? Ashley herself saw nothing terrible in possible concessions. Almost everything was acceptable if it gave her a chance. At the local pageant, she was noticed, given a prize, not the top one, and one of the judges, who introduced himself as a director from New York, showered her with compliments, handed her a business card, and invited her to his hotel. She knew the value of his words, but she took the card. Ashley, are you serious? You need to study. You have a bright mind. Her father was still speaking calmly. Maybe I don't want to study. Maybe I'm tired of it. Maybe I want the runway. Wonderful, Constantine exclaimed. So, you've firmly decided to become a beauty queen. For what? To make it easier to break into those. He hesitated and blushed, unable to say in front of his wife and daughter what he implied. Why those right away, Dad? Ashley said sarcastically. You don't break into those right away. I'll try to become a model first. A model? But you're too short. Models need to be at least 5'9". Her father showed his knowledge. That's it, I am done. Ashley jumped up, hands on her hips. I'll do what I've decided anyway. Hear me. I won't sit in this backwater. I won't become one of your silly doctors or teachers to earn pennies later. I won't marry some local guy like Danny and have ginger kids with him. I won't sit around on weekends eating mayo salads and listening to your friends' stories about her dogs. I don't want to. I want to live a real, human life, not like you. Carried away by her speech, Ashley finally saw her father's face and fell silent. It darkened with every phrase. What you don't want I heard. He said quietly but very clearly. What you do want I have no desire to know. Seems you've decided everything for yourself. Well then, go. Do what you want. Live as you want. Kostya. Her mother couldn't take it. Quiet. Irene. He hugged her. Don't cry. Don't ruin our daughter's farewell to our silly home. Ashley, he turned to her, walk past us with your head held high. Only in her room did Ashley let her emotions loose. Her legs were shaking, her palms sweaty. The shame was wild, but she wasn't about to admit it. There was no turning back. The next day, she left, stuffing an envelope with money from her father and a note with the address of his old friend, who could help with housing, into her bag. On the train, under the reproachful gaze of an elderly woman, she tore that note into tiny pieces and threw them out the window. No old connections, no past. She was starting a new life. She understood that the huge city chewed up thousands of provincial girls like her every day, and among them was surely some prettier, more educated, more talented. But she had an advantage: men liked her. She felt it, and she was confident in her power. That would be her weapon. Her first night in the city was spent in a luxurious hotel with a view of the embankment. Well rested, she put on her best suit and went to conquer the capital. By midday, she returned to the room, frightened and crushed. The city had overwhelmed her with its mass and indifference. She had to move to a cheap room that smelled of other people's lives. At the modeling agency casting, the manager looked her over unceremoniously and said, "Not bad data, but a bit short, and there's some extra weight. We could list you 4 catalogs, but forget about the runway. By the way, if you want to discuss collaboration, Let's have lunch. No, thank you. Ashley refused firmly. Then came jobs in a small store, at the reception of a beauty salon, at a gym, and finally, the pinnacle, a waitress in a restaurant. By day she ran around with trays. By night she cried in her tiny room. And then a miracle happened in her life. She met Maxim, a very wealthy man. So wealthy that, having gotten him, she could stop worrying about anything. True, there was a problem: he was married. But a wife isn't a wall. He rented her a nice apartment, took her on vacations, gave her jewelry, took her to car dealerships, and she did everything to bind him to her. After a year, she was sure he was about to propose. And suddenly, instead his departure and strange words. No, she wouldn't allow it. She dialed a number she had long since snooped. Hello, my name is Ashley. I'm in a close relationship with your husband, Maxim. It's been going on for almost a year. I think we should meet. Maxim himself seems unable to make the break, and I believe you should take the first step. Well, thank you for your candor. A too calm voice sounded on the phone. Come over. I'll be waiting. Half an hour later, in that same taxi, Ashley was riding the elevator up to a gorgeous apartment. The door was opened by a petite, fair-haired woman in an elegant loungewear set. My God, how did he live with her for so many years? Ashley was amazed. A grey mouse. Hello. I assume you can guess who I am, Ashley asked ironically, and without waiting for an invitation, plopped into a huge armchair. Immediately feeling awkward, she sank into it and had to look up at the hostess. Yes, I think I know. The woman nodded. You must be Ashley. 100% probability. The guest smirked, getting up to feel more confident. What? Do your husband's mistresses visit you so often you're afraid of mixing them up? The hostess took the blow calmly. You're right. My husband's mistresses don't visit me often. You're the first. So forgive my slight nervousness. This is a debut for me. Ashley looked at her interlocutor with surprise. Instead of a nervous simpleton, a self-assured woman stood before her. She had a dazzling smile, a beautiful figure. Where had Ashley seen a grey mouse earlier? I see you're not very surprised. Ashley raised an eyebrow. Not very. The woman nodded. You see, I was expecting your visit. Max warned me. It was a low blow. Ashley staggered. What? Max told me everything. About you. About the relationship. He talked for a long time. Probably didn't miss anything. She smiled again. I don't know what else you could tell me. Ashley felt incredibly stupid. Max told you everything, she repeated quietly. The woman nodded. Her face glowed with a quiet, restrained joy. Her hand slid down involuntarily and touched her waist. She seemed surprised by her own gesture, pulled her hand back, and again her whole being was illuminated with happiness. You're pregnant. The guess flashed in Ashley's head. The woman slowly nodded, and her smile became simply dazzling. In that moment, she was beautiful. Well, that complicates things. Ashley tried to take the initiative. You decided to hold on to him that way. Think that will tie him to you. If you think so, you don't know your husband well. He's allergic to the very word children. I think it's you who doesn't know him very well, the woman said softly. You knew a different Max. The one who was with you. He and I have known each other a very long time. So long that we got used to each other like our own hand. And maybe that's what ruined us habits. We stopped noticing how we were becoming strangers. And sometimes I think it wasn't my Max who cheated on me. Not the one I've known since school. Not the one who stood up for me, waited for me, competed with me for a seat at the study desk. The one I dreamed of having children with. That person disappeared somewhere. And a stranger appeared. And just a couple of days ago, he seemed to start coming back. Not all of him, but it was him. She paused. Of course, I'm to blame too. I should have been closer. And having a child took a long time. She timidly touched her stomach again. You didn't need to be so candid with me. I don't care about your troubles. Ashley jumped up, trying to hide her trembling. I still won't let him dump me. Hear me? And you can't do anything. It would be better for him if you just disappeared. She was almost screaming, verging on a shriek. The apartment's mistress looked at her attentively. Listen, you can't hold on to what isn't yours. An object you can. A person you can't. I'm not going to hold on to him. I don't need to. Frankly, I don't know if we have a future. If I can forgive. If he can return to being himself. But I know the main thing. I have my life. And my child. And what do you have, Ashley? Max. Ashley blurted out. I have Max. Are you sure? The woman asked quietly. And Ashley felt a burning shame wash over her from head to toe. Mom, hi. Ashley's voice sounded muffled on the phone. I wanted to let you know. I'm coming home next week. Is that okay? Ashley, what kind of question? Of course. This is your home. And we're always waiting for you. We love you. No matter what happens. No matter what happens. Is that true? Ashley clutched the receiver convulsively. Those simple words were a revelation to her. No matter what happens and no matter who you become. Irene said firmly. Your father and I love you and are waiting for you. For long. Mom, I'm coming back for good. Enough. I don't want this anymore. I can't and I don't want to. Mom, I want to come home. Ashley fell silent. Mom, how's Dad? Did he get his allergy treated? And did you switch to working at the clinic like you wanted? And how's your friend with her poodles? Did her peach-colored Merchick win a prize after all? And Danny? Is he waiting for me, like he promised? Remind him about the white roses. Mom, have you and Dad started the renovation yet? Well, don't. We'll do it all together. The three of us. It was as if a dam had broken. All those questions and topics that once seemed petty and unimportant were now the only things that mattered. You know, my dear old soldier. Irene hugged her husband. Turns out we weren't such bad parents after all. She gave Constantine a loud kiss on the cheek.